We've got a plan that both conservatives and progressives can agree on. Basically says pay yourself first. With the wealth building home loan, most of your monthly payment goes to pay down your mortgage and build equity rather than pay interest.
Even though we're in Washington, we're not talking about labels. We're talking about getting the job done with the American Enterprise Institute and NACA coming together, standing up for working people and generating wealth for generations to come.
Since July of 2014, I've been working with Bruce Marks, the CEO and founder of the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, or NACA, on a new program called the Wealth Building Home Loan.
We both have the same message, the same commitment, the same determination, the same relentlessness to really get a wealth building model that will be a game changer for working people throughout this country.
Here are the three most important things you need to know about the Wealth Building Home Loan. So there's a general view espoused by realtors and others that housing is always a good investment. And the problem with that is housing is very volatile, particularly housing for low-income borrowers. And we've documented that level of volatility, and it's tremendous. The other thing that we found is that given the 30-year amortization, combine that with the volatility, and your ability to build wealth reliably is really difficult. So one of the favorite expressions of groups on the left is the only way that a low-income person can build wealth is to buy a highly leveraged asset, namely a house, and buy that house. Well, the problem is that with the volatility, that ends up being, as Chip Case of the Case-Shiller Index says, that's a crapshoot. And what we found was that when you look at the 30-year loan and you're talking about a low-income person buying one, that it may turn out that renting is a better option. Why? Because if they have a 401k available to them, a retirement plan that's matched by their employer, that is a more reliable way of building wealth than this very volatile asset called a house, because they're just buying a single house, not even a basket of homes around the country. So what the 15-year does is say, okay, you're going to now buy that same house potentially, or maybe a slightly less expensive one, but you're going to be paying yourself through the amortization rather than paying interest. And therefore, you're going to build this wealth no matter what. Anything that happens in terms of amortization is icing on the cake. If a house price goes up, great. If it stays even, fine, you still have a lot of equity built up. If it goes down some, you're still ahead of the game because you still have a tremendous amount of equity. So it works no matter what. And that's a reliable, sustainable way of putting low-income, working-class people into homes.
What it does is it takes the risk out of owning a house, because you're not really betting on whether the value is going to go up or down. What you're betting on is I can make that payment will go towards the principal. If I keep making that payment over time, by definition, I'm going to own 100% of that house. So now we've stopped gambling as homeowners, where we now have a mortgage that will guarantee I will have that equity and that wealth in my house.
I identify myself as a free market conservative. Bruce identifies himself as a progressive, yet we're able to agree on the wealth building home loan because we both agree that low and middle income borrowers need options that allow them to build wealth reliably and sustainably, and that the 15-year wealth building home loan allows them to do that. The long-term goal is to make the wealth building home loan the standard for low and middle income home buyers. We're going to demonstrate its feasibility and utility by doing pilots, as we're doing with NACA and hopefully with others. But we believe that once we do those pilots, it'll be recognized that this is a better way, and the market will respond to this when we show there's demand for the wealth building home loan.
Now we're providing a way to generate huge amounts of wealth for families whose either that wealth was taken away from them in the mortgage crisis, or they never had that opportunity to generate that wealth for themselves, for their families, and for generations to come.